Welcome back to the Team to Be Miami Heat podcast, your one-stop shop for daily Miami Heat content. For today's episode, want to talk about something that might be a little tough for the Miami Heat fans to hear, but it's important to discuss. So my question today is, should the Miami Heat trade Terry Rozier? After a less than ideal start and stint with the Miami Heat, it seems like the Miami Heat are most likely ready to admit that the Terry Rozier trade was a mistake for this Miami Heat team. So let's break it down why the Miami Heat should consider trading Terry Rozier this season. And also, if you guys are enjoying the content, I am pushing to 2,000 subscribers. So make sure to subscribe for all the latest updates on the Miami Heat. So Terry Rozier, when we traded for him last season, was supposed to bring a scoring punch to this Miami Heat backcourt. And when we did trade for him, he started off really slow and then eventually got really hot for a few weeks and then he got hurt. So he's been inconsistent throughout his entire time with this Miami Heat and has been injury prone to a certain degree as well. We saw last year he had the neck injury that came out of nowhere. This season, he said he's had a bothered foot. That's why he's been off to a slow start. And he has also missed 2 or 3 games this season so far. So things haven't gone as planned. Like I said, Rozier is averaging his lowest point total and field goal percentage of his career, which is just horrendous. Right now, he's averaging just 13 points per game, which is not miserable. I mean, he only averaged like 16 and a half with the Heat last year. With the Hornets, people are always going to mention, he scored 23 point, whatever, 2 points per game with the Hornets, but that was on a horrible team. Like LaMelo Ball was injured that year as well. And so he was the primary focal point on a losing, horrible, tanking team. So, of course, he's going to chuck up shots and he's going to take these difficult, inefficient shot opportunities. And he's the only guy on that team that's going to take 20 plus shots per game when he was on the Hornets. So, of course, his averages are going to be higher, but his efficiency and field goal percentages weren't that great. This year, it's even worse, though. Again, shooting 40.4% from the field, which is just terrible for a guard. The Heat have even moved him to the bench recently after a string of inefficient performances, and he's looked a little bit better off the bench as the sixth man, but still, that's not what we traded him for. We wanted him to be a starter. We wanted him to be someone who ignited our offense, someone who was capable of giving you 17 to 22 points per game, and he's far from that this season. So there's a few reasons maybe why, but it could be that foot injury. It's also the team changed the offensive scheme. So those are a few issues, but still, Miami, when they traded for him, though, and traded away Kyle Lowry and a future first-round pick to bring him in, is a mistake. It's clear that Rozier has struggled to find his rhythm along Tyler Hero this year. Tyler Hero has been playing amazing. He's probably the best player on the Miami Heat offensively this season. I don't know why I said probably. He is definitively the best player right now offensively for this team. So it's becoming harder to ignore the fact that he's not a good fit for this Miami Heat system. He's not a good fit next to Jimmy, Bam, and Tyler. So let's talk about the contract too. So Rozier is owed $24.9 million this season, and next year is his final season. He signed a 4-year deal with the Hornets, and he's going to make $26.6 million next season with the Miami Heat. And while that's not a huge contract in today's NBA, it's a lot for a player who hasn't lived up to his expectations, who's become a role player. So if Miami decides to stick with Rozier, they're essentially locking themselves into a contract that might not be worth the cost, especially when there's questions about his long-term fit with this team. So can they trade him up to free space and provide the Miami Heat with flexibility and add stronger, more cohesive two-way players? Right now, the Miami Heat have just Bam and Haywood basically as their plus defenders, and we need better 3 and D type of players. Like we need the players that Spo typically likes, a Caleb Martin type of player in our system, a PJ Tucker type of player. We need someone that has the tenacity on defense, but has the capability of also contributing on the offensive end. And I'd rather take 2 players making $12 million each, or someone that's making 10 and someone making 15, and trading those 2 types of players, like a Dorian Finney-Smith is making 15. Cam Johnson is making even less, 20 something, I think, compared to Terry Rozier. Dante DiVincenzo, which I don't think that's ever going to happen because the T-Wolves are a second apron team, but someone like him is making 11. So if you can get him and you throw in whoever else on that T-Wolves in this hypothetical situation that's making 14 million, aggregate those two, which they can't, but still, again, hypothetical. I'd rather take those types of players. Like, hell, give me a Bruce Brown type of player, who's going to make anywhere from 15 to 20 million, who's going to be more impactful, especially on the defensive end. Like Terry just isn't the right person on this roster. He's not a point guard. He's a combo guard. He needs the ball in his hands. Otherwise, he struggles. He's been improving now that he's been off the bench and trying to do more catch and shoot. But him coming off the bench, we need the ball in his hands to create offense for other players. And while Jimmy's on the taking a rest and Bam is taking a rest and Tyler, then of course you want Rozier to be ball handling. So he's going to be going back to his crazy circus shots, which are not really efficient. You can see that in his 40.4% field goal percentage. So if the Heat do decide to move from Rozier ultimately, what could they get in return? Who knows? Ideally, the players that I mentioned earlier are the type of players we would want. But according to NBA insider Michael Scotto, he said that Rozier and Miami's future first-round picks are viewed as the Heat's top trade assets outside of Jimmy Butler. The Heat have like one or two tradable picks, I think. I don't even know. I know for one for sure. But this means that there could be a potential to land a better fitting player, someone who can help the Miami Heat offensively and defensively, like I just mentioned. I think that's what they need to pursue. And if they can't do it this season, then they need to do it next season. He's going to be on an expiring contract for 26.6. Kyle Lowry was on a $29 million expiring contract at age 37. He's 38 now. I don't know if he was 38 at the time when we traded him, but he was at least 37 he's 7 years older than Terry Rozier, 6 to 7 years older than him. And his contract is worth $3 million more. We were able to get someone for him. I mean, obviously we had to throw in the first round pick to get a Terry Rozier who was 29 at the time. But I think for Terry Rozier, at age 30, who is still a good scorer, who can help a team potentially, not the Miami Heat, but maybe another team who needs his scoring contribution and ability and tough shot making ability, would take that expiring contract. I don't think they'll give us a first round pick for him, but give us like two solid rotational players that are, semi young, and I'd be okay with that. Like, give me some rotational pieces. Give me a Corey Kispert from the Wizards. I know we're linked and rumored to potentially be tied with the Wizards forward Kyle Kuzma. I've done videos in the past, and Kuzma's on the trade block for Washington. They mentioned Lakers, Miami, and a few other teams. The Cavs could be interested in moving Rozier for a player like Kuzma. Would make sense. It would balance the roster. It would give us more size that we need. He has a better contract, Kuzma does, than Terry Rozier. But either way, I don't think anything's going to happen. I don't think we're going to trade Terry Rozier until next year. I think maybe at the trade deadline, someone would be willing to take him on as an expiring contract to help clear up their books. But I don't think Terry Rozier is going anywhere this season. And he has some time to turn this around. Maybe he could be our sixth man. He is doing a little bit better. Maybe moving forward, we'll keep Duncan Robinson in the starting lineup to continue to give us size, better shooting, better chemistry next to Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero. Have Terry staggered from Tyler, Jimmy, and Bam, see what he can do and help this the offense from the bench contribute to potentially winning games. We'll see what happens. But anyway, that's all I have for today's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you again.